Welcome viewers to our special broadcast Mirror at 7. I'm Ashish Pareek and our broadcast again starts with yet another shocking incident that has surfaced from Karnataka. An 11-year-old child was electrocuted in December last year in Shimoga, and the intensity of the shock was such that the child lost his hands and his feet. Now, one would think that after such a horrific tragedy, the local officials would have jumped into action and cleaned up the area in a bid to ensure that no other innocent soul suffered the way that the 11-year-old suffered. But well, guess what? It has now come to light that the loose hanging wires that caused this drastic incident and accident, if you may call it, they've still not been attended to or fixed by the BESCOM officials, despite it being over a month since this incident occurred. Now, the family of the child continues to demand justice for the life that has been ruined due to criminal negligence. They're also demanding a compensation to ensure that the boy who's been rendered disabled can now lead a healthy life. Unfortunately, such incidents are fast becoming the norm in the IT hub of the country. Now, just a month prior to this accident, in November of last year, in fact, just a couple of months ago maximum, a 23-year-old woman and a 9-year-old baby girl They were electrocuted to death on the pavement near the Hope Farm Junction in Bangalore. In fact, in yet another incident, a BESCOM employee himself was electrocuted while performing his duty. My colleague Neha joins us on the broadcast to get us more information on this. Neha, this seems to be becoming some sort of a pattern. We continuously see such incidents come to light. People continuously get electrocuted. There are multiple campaigns that are run by citizen groups as well. But at the end of the day, the BESCOM officials still haven't attended to the wire. This is a shocking incident. And what's more shocking is the carelessness with which this is being addressed.
Well, Ashish, that's absolutely right. Every time we see an incident like this, whether it's of electrocution or whether it's of civic apathy, the government makes tall promises and, in fact, claims here to have fixed the matter and have taken action immediately. Officials have been suspended in the past. Officials have been fined in the past. Cases have been slapped against them. But on ground, how much has really changed? Well, that's something that's quite evident for all our viewers and the citizens of Bengaluru city to see. It's really quite unfortunate that despite multiple cases like this coming to light, people having lost their lives, their limbs in this case, that the government still is failing to act on this. Of course, this time around, we're hoping, at least like we do every time, that things are going to be different, that the government takes stock of this, takes cognizance of this matter and ensures at the earliest that all of these cables are at least cleared up and the lives of citizens, in fact, which is a basic human right, is restored to normalcy in the city, and people don't have to fear stepping out and stepping on these cables or coming in contact with these wires and just be able to walk on the streets without having to worry about this.
Right, Neha, we've been shifting focus on these sort of incidents that have come to light, and this has now become a pattern, like I was saying. And we at Mirror now have been talking about these incidents. We've been discussing this with experts as to what could be the solutions. There are a lot of suggestions also coming in right now. And I believe we have tried contacting the BESCOM officials as well. What has been the response from the officials? What are they doing about this? Again, what are the safety measures that are in place to ensure that no such incidents occur?
Well, Ashish, in fact, we tried questioning the Chief Minister and the Deputy Chief Minister about this as well earlier, but, there seemed to be no response. But on ground, while officials say that, drives are underway and that there are clearance drives to clear these cables to ensure that the city is made a little safer, evidently incidents like this have been happening time and again, and it really raises the question about how much is being done on ground. Now, it's one thing to say that efforts are on to make the city safe and to ensure that these cables do not claim any more lives, but it's a complete other scenario and a picture on ground. And this story that we're bringing to you of this young boy there having lost his limbs is just testament to the fact that enough is not being done on ground. We'll of course really have to wait and see how the government plans to revamp this entire system that they've put in place right now, where officials are suspended. Of course, that's the first action that's taken, but is that really setting an example? Well, clearly it's not. There's no fear in the officials here of being suspended or being fined, which is what leads to this callousness on ground, which is what is leading them to not act on cases like this.
Right, Neha. Appreciate you joining us on the broadcast. We've, of course, been questioning the officials. No response, but we will continue to do our job. We will try to bring these issues to the spotlight, and also we will demand answers from those that are accountable. In fact, our team has compiled a lot of data about what's happening in Karnataka, what's happening in Bengaluru, and the statistics are something that will shock you. Let's take a look at the numbers on your screens right now. These are the incidents that have been coming to light for a long time now. In Bengaluru, December 3rd, the 11-year-old child, this was of course in Shimoga, the incident that occurred, he was playing in the field, he got electrocuted, his hands and his feet had to be cut off. And this for no fault of his. All he was doing was playing in the field, and the officials that are responsible for this, they are still scot-free. They've not been held. There's no action that is taken. He's lost one hand, he's lost a feet as well, and the child, his life is ruined, but no one's accountable. There's no responsibility. And what's more shocking is the fact that the wires that caused the electrocution, they're still out there exactly in the same condition. So who's responsible for this? Well, this again is a question that needs to be asked. And there's another incident that we're talking about on your screens. You're seeing there, 23-year-old woman in November in Bengaluru. She and a 9-month-old baby were walking on the pavement. That is all that they were doing. They didn't touch a wire, they didn't touch a pole. These are the visuals there that you also see of the incident. She stepped on a live wire that was just dangling on the road. What happened? She and her child got electrocuted. Those are the visuals there. The thing that you're seeing burning there is not something that's just kept on the road. It's a human and a child. And who's responsible for this? It's the BESCOM officials. The questions were asked. 5 BESCOM officials were suspended. They were even arrested. And as of now, no further action has been taken. And when the official response from BESCOM was sought, you will be surprised to what the BESCOM had to say. The BESCOM officials pointed fingers at rodents. They said there was a rat problem there. There were rats there who might have triggered this particular incident. Now, these are the responses that we're getting from the officials who are supposed to be taking care of the people and also ensure that people don't get electrocuted. Following this, there was a probe as well by the Karnataka Lokayukta, the police team of the Karnataka Lokayukta, and they ended up finding that just 1 hour before this particular incident occurred, there had been a complaint that had been sent out to BESCOM, and they did not come and fix the problem. So it's not just the problem of not taking care, not servicing the transmission lines, not servicing the transformers that are there. It's also a problem of brushing away from responsibility. In fact, there's another incident that we're talking about of a student who suffered 35% burns. This is the electric wire that you see there on your screens, which fell on a student in August. Again, these are incidents that just happened recently. We're not even talking about incidents that's been happening for the past 4 or 5 years now, because this has become a norm. The student suffered 35% burns. Electric wire fell on the student, and again, no action taken. So these are the sort of incidents that are coming to light from all over Karnataka. The main culprit, from what we understand in all of this, is the electricity board, which is BESCOM. But action is missing. In fact, there has been a report also that has been submitted by the Karnataka Electricity Regulatory Committee as well, and that clearly points to the fact that BESCOM officials have not been on their toes when responding to such situations. They have not been maintaining these electricity lines, and that means that lives of innocent people, today it's them, tomorrow it could be you and me. So it is again a problem that has to be addressed, taken seriously, because this is affecting every single person, and there have been multiple deaths in connection to this. Also, we will be discussing this in detail. We have been speaking to experts about this. We are trying to understand what the problem is. And again, all the fingers are pointed towards BESCOM, but the response from BESCOM, we're still awaiting that. Meanwhile, to discuss this on the broadcast, joining me right now is Mr. Gautam Mishra, who is the leader of Safe Footpath Initiative. And also joining us is Dr. Sudhir Krishna, who is the former secretary at the Ministry of Urban Development. Gentlemen, appreciate you joining us on the broadcast. This is a very serious discussion. We've been bringing a lot of incidents. It's not one isolated incident that we're talking about. Multiple incidents coming to the fore. Again and again, the same electricity body being questioned, but no action being taken. I'll start with Dr. Sudhir Mishra there. Dr. Sudhir Mishra, what's happening in Karnataka? We're talking about roads that are damaged. We're talking about streets that are not designed properly. Again, at the end of the day, somehow people can escape that. But when you have live wires lying right on the road, people get electrocuted, and that's what's happening right now. Help us understand what the situation in Karnataka is and what exactly causes problems like these.
And are you asking me or the other panelists?
Yes, Dr. Mishra, that question to you is, this is the question to you. We are talking about urban development here, or of course the lack of it. Help us understand what's happening in Karnataka and what is the primary reason behind this sort of an incident occurring again and again.
Yeah, is that question for me or the other panelist?
Yes, yes, Dr. Mishra, the question is for you.
Okay, sorry. So, yeah, so it's like really, as a citizen, volunteer and activist for safe footpath, it's really, sort of disheartening to see the situation actually on the roads and the streets. The apathy that exists from the administration, from BESCOM about the safety of citizens is it's appalling actually. So as we had a horrible accident in Whitefield 2 months back, where a young lady and her 9-month-old baby was electrocuted right in front of her husband's eye, and everyone just had no choice, but they couldn't really save her, right? Because there was a live wire right on the footpath. So after that incident, we were kind of contemplating what to do, how to correct the situation. Doing a protest is one thing, but to fix the system is what is required, right? So when we surveyed the roads just a kilometer around that spot, we found like 50 such issues that are waiting to happen, the accidents which are waiting to happen. And when we look at the infrastructure, the BESCOM, the electrical infrastructure on the streets, it's full of outdated infra from like maybe 50 years, 100 years back. And I wonder where the, where is the capital investment going? Like, if you don't upgrade your infrastructure for 50, 60 years, what are we paying our electricity tariffs for? It has to go in creating those assets in the capex, not to just pay salaries and in the sinkhole of inefficiency of these organizations. So that's my take, that whatever is the budgeted amount assigned for that for those assets has to be invested, and it's high time that Bangalore upgrades itself to the standards of a metropolitan city. Like I've nowhere else have seen such a pathetic, such a outdated infrastructure. And we call ourselves the IT city, the Silicon Valley of the of the world. And when you look at our infrastructure, it's just not even as good as a third-tier city, right? So that's my question to the I hope you have a panelist from BESCOM or from the administration who can throw light on that angle.
Right, Mr. Mishra, we did try contacting BESCOM, and as you would expect, there was no response, no official response, no response on record. And of course, we are trying to get a response from them. We're trying to get someone from BESCOM to speak as well. But meanwhile, while that happens, our call-in lines are also open. Even viewers who are watching right now can call us, tell us about their experience, and also if there are any problems that they are facing, they can probably bring it up as well. I'll take this point across to Dr. Krishna, who's also on the broadcast with us. Dr. Krishna, you've been, of course, very experienced with urban development. You've seen how Bengaluru has been growing. But the problem is, while Bengaluru is growing, the biggest question is Bengaluru also keeping up with the growth?
Well, as far as utility planning is concerned, Bangalore and many other cities have not given enough attention to utility infrastructure planning. You see, the cables, whether it is telecom cable or is it power line cables or other pipelines, they have to go underground through a proper conduit duct, and that is called utility duct. And utility duct, makes it very safe and convenient for the all the utilities like electricity cables, conductors, and so on. But somehow this has not been given attention. So here and there we have to dig the road to find out junction points, and the cables are hanging from the top. So these problems are happening. I think the guidelines from the Ministry of Housing and Urban Affairs, which are called URDP-FI guideline, Urban and Regional Development Plan Formulation and Implementation Guidelines, launched in 2014-15, these very clearly prescribe that there should be proper pathways, and all the walkways should have utility ducts, and all the cables should go through the utility ducts. So this is as far as planning part is concerned. Now the question of financing is there. These ducts pay for themselves because you pay rental.
Right,
All the
Dr. Krishna,
utilities
you
they
explained about the planning part. We'll come back to you for the financing part as well. Apologies, I'll have to interrupt you there because we also have a caller who's joining us right now. It's Abdul from Belgavi. Abdul, if you can hear my voice right now, help us understand what's the situation like in Belgavi. BESCOM, of course, has been found guilty of such accidents or incidents, whatever you call it, in multiple cities. Help us understand what the situation in Belgavi is like.
Yeah, actually, I am from Bangalore only, wrongly mentioned as Belgavi.
All right.
The today's paper
All
speaks
right.
for itself. BESCOM official owns 13 sites, and the Chief General Manager Operation BESCOM and found asset worth 6.37 crore rupees with 13 sites. It speaks for itself. The corruption is rampant. Thank you.
Right. Right, Abdul, appreciate you joining us on the broadcast there. That is, of course, one of our callers who's watching us right now, sharing his problems on what's happening in Karnataka as a whole, not just Bengaluru. I'll take this point across to Mr. Mishra also again. Mr. Mishra, we are talking about the problem with electricity lines. And from what I've understood right now, it's the electricity lines near the residential buildings and also the commercial complexes that have been causing the most issues. This is something that the KERC has also highlighted. Help us understand what's the biggest problem with these lines and also why hasn't BESCOM attended to it? Because if you have so many incidents coming to light, clearly there is a problem. Why are these problems being fixed?
So I'll put it in like two categories. First is the BESCOM's own outdated infrastructure. Though the pictures visuals you have of those group operating switches and whatever it is, like nowhere, no other city, even in India, even you go to tier 2 cities, you will not see such outdated ugly infrastructure with hanging wires, with poles with multiple liver rods which are hanging at a shoulder level, right? So first is the outdated infrastructure. So it's very clear that they are not spending the money in the asset creation in the capex budget. All their money must be going in the inefficient operations, paying salaries for thousands of employees who are not as productive. So that has to be fixed from a finance perspective. That pre-allocated 20%, 30%, whatever is budgeted for assets has to be spent on assets, and every year, every 5 years, the asset, the infrastructure needs to be updated, right? They cannot have a 50-year-old infrastructure in a tier 1 city and a global IT hub like Bangalore. Second issue is the general apathy is like it's a party of chaos among BESCOM, BBMP, and all the agencies involved. Like blaming each other, and and some of those unorganized sector cable guys and OFC, the telecom companies joining the party, right? So nobody follows any standards. Like on a live electrical pole, you have OFC cables, you have TV cables running on those. Now, for a normal citizen, how do they know what cable it is, right? So most of them will think, oh, this is another OFC cable or telecom cable, maybe harmless. And so the first thing is that no other cable can go on an electrical installation, and there has to be an absolute criminal offense booked as soon as it happens, right? Just cutting the wire and throwing it on the street, for someone else to pick after a month, then that's not enough. There has to be an FIR. There has to be for safety violations, there has to be absolutely like zero tolerance, which in spite of all the calls, all the media attention, all of the things, I'm sorry to say that the authorities are just not waking up, right? And this is not a problem at the linesman level, at suspending a few linesmen or a lower level staff. This problem is not going to solve. The senior people in BESCOM and the other agencies have to take ownership, and they need to fix this infrastructure. And this is like now we are playing with people's life. It's not just about
infrastructure is the problem, Mr. Gautam Mishra. Like you rightly pointed out, infrastructure is the key problem, and Dr. Krishna was also talking about utility planning. Now, Dr. Krishna, you're talking about utility planning, and I'll just take you through a point that the KERC, which is the Karnataka Electricity Regulatory Commission, had pointed out. They've said that 95% of the electrical accidents are occurring in the distribution systems which are close to buildings. Because they are close to buildings and because they are close to residential complexes. Isn't this one of the things that is kept? We're talking about urban planning here, urban development, Bengaluru being an IT capital, Silicon City, and also different parts of Karnataka. Is it not one of the key factors while there is a design that is charted out for urban development?
Bangalore has a unique, not only in many cities, I mean, old buildings are being demolished to give way to high-rise buildings, As a result, the density of habitation is becoming very high, and the utilities are not able to find proper place. Earlier, there were smaller apartment units of houses in Bangalore in many places, and therefore the utilities were there in a mild manner. Now, very dense development has happened, and the utilities have become also very dense. So the only way is to have a proper planning for the utility infrastructure, and otherwise simply extrapolating the past, laying more cables overground is not going to help. It is going to cause problem as it is happening. It is not only Bangalore, many cities, even Delhi, old Delhi, if you go, similar problem, older part, everywhere, that is the problem. So I think it is high time that states put their heads together, and Government of India in the Ministry of Housing and Urban Affairs can take the lead role in putting all the states together to work on a roadmap for utility planning. I was mentioning briefly before that financing should not be a problem at all. These planning pay for themselves, cities pay for themselves, development also, it should not be a problem. Only what we require is proper planning with a vision and determination to execute the plan. Of course, Electricity Regulatory Commission can play a vital role, no doubt, because they have the authority to, ask people to prepare the plan and enforce it also. So I think it is just because we are just bothered more about clear development like high-rise buildings, viaducts of metro rail and so on, flyovers, but we are not so much giving attention to utility planning, which should go hand in hand. And that is one part which we are ignoring. Along with that, I would say drainage plan also. We are not discussing today drainage planning, but the roadside drains are also having a similar problem. They are not being taken care of. And that is also another reason for confusion in the city infrastructure. So utility planning on one hand, and also the drainage planning,
Dr. Krishna,
footpath management,
I'll have to
neat
interject
roads.
you again. We'll, of course, keep coming back to you for more on that. In fact, we have opened up our phone lines as well, and multiple viewers are calling us right now. Let me go across to Captain Jakpal, who's calling from Rohtak. Captain Jakpal, help us understand your experience with such civic apathy and also with the electricity lines.
So, firstly, my entire experience is with the Mirror now. It has been only one channel that has been debating the urban problems and to a great satisfaction. But it abandons time and again. Now coming to what is the problem. Problem is either the family should go to the High Court or Supreme Court because fundamental rights have been severely affected or offended. And I should ask for a minimum compensation of 5 crores, which should be recovered from this thoroughly corrupt apathetic criminal negligence on the part of the agencies, the bureaucrats and politicians alike. There is no other alternative. Second is, Chief Justice of the Karnataka High Court takes a suo motu notice. And thirdly, with the present Chief Justice of India, he should also come into the picture because these incidents are far too often in Karnataka and Bangalore. Thank you.
Right. Captain Jakpal, appreciate you joining us on the broadcast there. And of course, you were also highlighting the key reasons why such incidents occur. In fact, we are also getting a caller from Hyderabad, Mr. Opuroy. Mr. Opuroy, help us understand what your experience has been. Has it been also in Karnataka and Bengaluru, or is Hyderabad also facing similar issues?
Hello.
Right, Mr. Opuroy, go ahead.
Sensationalizing reincarnation of Bilkis Banu's rapist against the background of the Godhra incident of Karnataka burnt alive, who cannot speak or fight. Sounds bizarre, is it not?
All right. So that was Mr. Opur Rai calling us from Hyderabad. So, of course, we're getting multiple callers here sharing their experiences with the lack of urban governance. It's not just limited to Bengaluru, from what we understand. In fact, Mr. Gautam Mishra, this is again what we are understanding from our callers here is that this problem is not just limited to Karnataka and Bengaluru. Again, but our focus continues to be because we are getting reports of multiple incidents occurring in Karnataka, especially in Bengaluru. You were talking about the lack of infrastructure. When we talk about infrastructure, there needs to be a lot of financing that also needs to be pumped in. But in Bangalore is one of the cities that has been pumping in a lot of money in terms of taxes. But what they are getting in return is poor infrastructure, and also at the end of the day, someone getting electrocuted. That's the worst that can happen.
Yes, so I kind of Mr. Sudhir was talking about planning, but to me as a as a citizen, I feel more than planning, it's the execution and accountability which is totally lacking. Right. So when I called up the AGM office, the concerned person, in BESCOM, I could get after a couple of handoffs from one person to other. Finally, I got to speak to someone who was technically competent to, understand my queries and respond. And they said no, we have upgraded all the GOS switches to we don't those are in Whitefield, all of them they should not have been there, those GOS poles with hanging wires and lever rods, those are all outdated. We have all replaced everything, but on the ground within 2 kilometers of my house, I can see at least 10-15 of those ugly BESCOM GOS poles, right? So who is accountable for this? So where are those assets which were budgeted and put, and why are these poles then still hanging there? Are they live or are they redundant? Nobody is able to answer. So if they are redundant, if they are obsolete, if they are just there without any purpose, why are they not being removed? Right. And it's not that, see, if you have the will, if you execute, things can happen very easily. There's no dearth of money in Bangalore. You have thousands and thousands of crores. BBMP has a budget of over 1,000 crores, right? How much more money you need? You don't need money. You need
right, Mr. Gautam Mishra. I'll have to interject you there. We are getting one more caller here, Sam Sundar calling in from Bengaluru. Mr. Sam Sundar, you're also one of the residents of Bengaluru, which of course has seen more of such incidents than any other city across the country. Help us understand your experience with Bengaluru and also with BESCOM.
Yes, sir. Good evening, sir. So main thing is nobody will punish, sir. Thing is nobody will punish because only small contractor will be punished. All people and all 1 day, 2 days, it will come in newspapers and WhatsApp. Otherwise, this and all, nothing will happen. Over a period of time, what I observed is nothing will happen. Only because of your programs like this and all, some awareness is there. But still, actual machinery, actual real culprits, real thing and all, getting scot-free. Happily, people are there. Only for the public sake and for the civic sake and all, some mystery, some lower level people and all, contractor will punish it, and he will be benefited in some other way, some other place. Nothing will happen. This is my general comment to what I observed.
Right.
Okay, sir. Okay. Thanks, sir.
All right, Mr. Sam Sundar. Appreciate you joining us on the broadcast. So, very clear point that Mr. Sam Sundar is raising there is the fact that when such incidents occur, some low-level contractors are punished, they are suspended, and that is shown on record. But nothing happens to the big dogs who could potentially be the ones who are behind all of this. In fact, I'll thank my panelists also who are joining us discussing this, a very, very serious issue. Appreciate you for joining us on the broadcast, Mr. Gautam Mishra and also Mr. Sudhir Krishna. We'll, of course, keep raising this issue. We'll keep bringing out the voices of the people and also awareness about such incidents to light. Appreciate you joining us on the broadcast there. In fact, on that note, let's slip into a short break. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back.